right, what is up, Street Fighter fans? How you guys doing today? I think we need a bigger room. Well, thank you so much for coming out to the EVO 2015 Street Fighter panel. We have some exciting updates for you today. I'm Matt Dahlgren. I run the fighting team at Capcom. I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan P. Stands for Pantum Sinchai. Only gonna say that once, so you can call me Dan P. You got it. Yeah, I'm the product manager on Street Fighter 5. Nice to meet you all.
Hey everybody, I'm Peter Combo Fiend Rosas. So, yeah, I'm the community manager. I'm the one that deals directly with you guys. Love you guys. Thank you. And also recently I just got promoted to associate producer on Street Fighter 5.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Mike Evans. I am producer on Street Fighter 5.
That's it. All right, so we're gonna start off with a video. Basically, if you guys remember 2 years ago, or I remember probably 2 years ago, we did a special video called "The Day in the Life of Capcom." So I guess a lot of you have been wondering what it's like since that time has passed. We actually showed this trailer or this video at San Diego Comic-Con, so some of you might have already seen it. A lot of you probably haven't, but please take a look.
We here at Capcom are pulling out all the stops to make Street Fighter V the best fighting game ever made. I wanted to give our fans a sneak peek at some of the behind-the-scenes development work that is going on with the title. Here at Capcom, we're always looking for new inspiration on which characters to add to the Street Fighter V roster. While the mainstays from the past games are always welcomed, we wanted to dig a little deeper and maybe add some unlikely characters you might have glanced over, like this guy, and this guy, maybe this guy, this guy, definitely not this guy. Wait a minute, that's Snake! Seriously though, that Snake, he'd be like the best grappler in the game. And what is Ryu gonna do? He was taught to only throw Hadokens 4 feet off the ground. He'd just crawl underneath all the Hadokens. I'd play him. But at the end of the day, we found that since these characters have been lurking in the background for sometimes over 20 years, they've had too much time to study the current World Warriors movesets, and in turn, deemed them too overpowered. Or did we? We want our fans to be able to enjoy Street Fighter V in any way possible. So once we heard the players want to quote-unquote dial up a combo, we thought we should give them the best possible tool to do that.
Alright man, you ready? Ready to do this? Dude, are you ready? I don't know, let's go.
この道を進むのみ。守るべき者のために私は戦う。Round 1. Fight.
Alright, here it comes. Hadouken! Hadouken! Hadouken!
Hadouken!
Shoryuken! 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 Come on, Shoryuken! Shoryuken, come on!
Shoryuken! Shoryuken!
Eat this. You're not ready. Dude, look at me down this combo. Damn. This isn't gonna work.
Players always compare Street Fighter to a game of high-speed chess. Let's just say we're no chess masters here over at Capcom, but we figured we'd play and see if we can pull any ideas from this classic board game.
Alright, Ono-san, Night Owl, looks like the board's ready to go. It's all set up, so go ahead and get the match started.
Hadouken! Shoryuken!
Wait a second, guys. Alright, look, that's not how you play chess.
Huh?
Alright, so you take a pawn, and you can move one space forward. And then, if you want to, you have your knight here, and you can move like this. And the queen Well, basically, it can go wherever it wants, and then you're just trying to, you know, kill the king.
Okay. All right. Oh, son, I believe it's your turn.
Me?
Yes.
Checkmate.
Nidell, I do believe you have been checkmated by Ono-san.
What? What? Okay. Good game. Good game, Ono-san.
Oh, San. Very, very well done.
After a few hours of checkmates and wondering how chess relates to Street Fighter, we decided to play a game a little more our style.
Let's talk about some Street Fighter V. So the game's going to be coming out spring 2016. It's going to be exclusive to PS4 and PC, and it's going to be coming out at $59.99. So I'd like to start off by talking a little bit about our partnership we have in place with Sony. Sony have been absolutely fabulous partners, and they really share the same vision for the growth potential in the fighting game space. They're doing the correct moves, and they really would like to make sure that the PlayStation 4 is the home of fighting games. And they've helped us out with a lot of different aspects of Street Fighter V. One of those is cross-platform play. We're going to be able to unite the community into a centralized player base for the first time ever. And they've also been integral with the Capcom Pro Tour and helping us up our game in that stance. For online play this time around, this is a key focus of ours. We're back. We're running off of our Kagemusha netcode. It's proprietary to Capcom. It's a rollback netcode. We expect it to be very, very good, but online is a very key focal point for the product. And as I mentioned before, it's also going to be on cross-platform play. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the Capcom Pro Tour. It's our premier league destination for competitive fighting games. We're now in our second season. This is about the halfway point throughout the tour. Some of the key goals that we had in mind when we established this, we wanted to create a year-long structure that's told a better story of what goes on in the FGC throughout the course of a year. We wanted to increase our production quality of live streams, increase the prize pools, grow the community, and provide more opportunities for players and organizers. So we pretty much doubled our scope and size from last year. We have 32 spots up for grabs for the Capcom Cup. We've upped it to 16 premier events, and we've done a really good job of basing those globally. So they're split up evenly between US, Europe, and Asia. And we also have some set aside for emerging markets. Then we also have our leaderboard system, which you can track on CapcomProTour.com. That's going to determine the other 15 people that get to qualify. Over 40 physical events in total, and most importantly, we've got $500,000 worth of prize money this year, which is super hype. So in terms of our standings, players who have qualified thus far, we've got Mago, we've got Daigo, Infiltration, Kazunoko, Takedo, Shien, and Momochi. And then we're going to determine the next person who's qualified tomorrow night. Our next premier event is going to be Tokyo Game Show in Japan. Also, I'm excited to announce that we've been hard at work on Ultra Street Fighter 4 on PS4. We've ironed out all the kinks on it. It now has the input lag on the same, it's basically the same as Xbox 360, and all key issues have been resolved that could affect the competitive scene. We're happy to announce that the Capcom Pro Tour is going to be migrating over to PlayStation 4 after Evolution. So definitely stay tuned for more details. The PlayStation 4 is going to be the home of fighting games for many years to come, so we're excited to make this shift. So just one clarification point, the game's not available in Asia just yet. So until it isn't available in Asia, they're going to continue to run on PS3, but we'll have more details on that very shortly. But all Western events from this point are going to be running on PS4. Now for some new announcements. So this one's not a character, but it's really, really important. You'll get a character soon enough, don't worry about it. Street Fighter V is a game that really learns from all the previous iterations of Street Fighter. You can switch it over. And that's both in terms of gameplay and both in terms of how we deliver content to our fans. This time around, we're proud to announce we're going to be treating Street Fighter like a service. And our ambition here is to create a constantly evolving Street Fighter world that's going to deliver lots of fun to all different player types. So to break this down, I'd like to point out 3 key changes in our content strategy, which are going to be absolutely huge. The first, the initial release is going to be the only disc you ever need to own. You're never going to be forced to buy an upgrade patch. All balance and system adjustments are going to be made available for free to all players moving forward. And most importantly, all post-launch gameplay related content will be earnable by playing the game. So Street Fighter V is going to be the first iteration of the franchise where it's possible to buy the first iteration of the disc and get all of the gameplay related content for free if you're a dedicated player and continue to play the game. So we're going to be starting off with a core roster of 16 characters. Out of that, 4 new characters are going to be brand new to the series, so stay tuned for those. And then after that point, we're going to be continuously adding new characters post-launch. And I'd like to reiterate that all of those characters are going to be earnable for free by playing the game. So to break down how this really works, I'd like to take a step back and look at how we handled Street Fighter 4. So previously, we required you to purchase bundles of content all at once. And while that did revive interest in Street Fighter 4 every few years, it was really difficult to keep players engaged for a long period of time because sometimes you needed to wait 1 or 2 years to be able to get an update. Additionally, this also punished players who took a break from playing the game. If you came back later, you would have been forced to purchase an upgrade to get the latest balance patches. And it also forced players to purchase all of the content, even if it didn't appeal to them. So this time around, our new model is going to be much more in the player's interest. So this new strategy, by releasing characters regularly, it ensures that there's always something to look forward to in the short term, and it ensures that the competitive scene is always going to be growing over time. Players now have more freedom. They only need to purchase or earn the content that appeals to them. This also creates more long-term engagement. The more you play the game, the more you're rewarded as a player. And most importantly, our player base is never shrunk by requiring a paid update. Players can leave and they can come back at any time and play with the characters they own, and they can grind for the characters they'd like to get next. So to execute this, we are building an in-game currency. There are going to be 2 different types of in-game currency. The first is your fight money. Everybody loves their fight money. So fight money can only be obtained by playing the game, and that's what you use to be able to earn your content for free. If you want to speed that process up and access new content immediately, you are able to purchase Zenny with real money and speed that process up. In terms of how long it's going to take in order to earn a new character, we're still working that out. Part of the reason why we're doing these beta campaigns is to figure out the amount of time it takes players to earn fight money, but we'll be balancing that before the game is released. Next up, we've got our beta program. This is a really ambitious program that we're doing this time around. We're going to have 3 separate phases. The next one starts almost right after EVO, so it takes place between July 23rd and 28th. It's going to be exclusive to PlayStation 4. If you're in North America and you want access, you can pre-order the game at GameStop, Amazon, Best Buy, or on the PlayStation Store. That will give you guaranteed beta access for all of the phases moving forward. If you're in Europe and Asia, you can go to streetfighter.com and sign up for your chance to participate. More details coming soon on the future beta phases. The next one's going to be taking place this fall, and it's going to be PS4 and PC. But definitely pre-order, check out the online beta, July 23rd through 28th. And on that, I'm going to kick things over to development to talk about the development process.
All right. Hey guys, this year we wanted to do something a little different, and thank you, Comedy. Give you guys a little bit of background information into the development process. Something we've never quite talked a lot about in the open, but today I think it's a good opportunity to tell you guys how things shaped up for Street Fighter V, and also just moving forward how we want to be visible in our development process. Matt talked a lot about the betas, and that's part of it, but also is playable on the floor, and meeting all you guys, getting all your feedback is very important to us. So. I was also a producer on Ultra Street Fighter 4, and Street Fighter 4 was an amazing game, very close to our hearts, and it was a great game. But when me and Peter set out on Ultra Street Fighter 4, what we really wanted to do is, we had an amazing game already, a game that had lived, 7 years and has been doing a great job, and we wanted to just tune it and make sure that, all characters were viable, and, we feel like we've done a pretty good job with that. We see a lot of different characters played in tournaments, and we're happy with the outcome. That said, though, this time on Street Fighter V, we had literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get in on the ground floor and define, what are the pillars of this game? What do we want to make this game feel like, right? So this time we were working very closely with Capcom Japan R&D, Nakayama, who is the director on the game, and a lot of trips to Japan in the beginning, in the pre-production phase, just to talk about what do we want to make Street Fighter V? This is our chance, and it's a chance to make the game that's going to be played for the next 5, 10, hopefully 15 years, and we want to make sure we do it right, So without further ado, we're going to give you a little bit of insight into what was going on in pre-production, our thoughts going into it, and about the systems, the characters, and what was the vision that we had in mind in pre-production to make sure that we can make the best game for you guys. And we're really happy to see how it's being received, and we think it's only going to get better moving forward. So that being said, let me pass it over to Peter, and he's going to talk a little bit about the details.
All right, guys. So let me talk to you about the overall concept for Street Fighter V. Next slide. So the overall concept that we had was we wanted to make Street Fighter more intuitive for newcomers. That means that whenever they press something, whenever there's an action performed, it all makes sense. I think like right now in Street Fighter 4 with backdash invincibility, sometimes people don't get things like that. With the focus system, people just don't get things like that. So we wanted to make it intuitive, but we also wanted to pay homage to the series fans, and we're trying to do that through either characters or just the battle system in general. We don't want people to feel alienated when they play this. We want them to feel comfortable when they play it, but at the same time, we want it to feel new. Street Fighter is synonymous with memorable characters, and we're definitely putting a lot more love into the characters this time, and you can see that through their design. If you look at Birdie, we put a lot of love into that guy.
A lot of food too.
Exactly. The characters are definitely the emphasis this time. We've tried to create a battle system that puts the spotlight on the character, and you can see that through the variable system. It's about how the character functions within that system, not so much how the system dictates how the character plays. You know what I'm saying? It's basically the character functions in their own way. We wanted to put a focus on highlighting the characters' personalities. So their V-skill and their V-triggers are unique to them. That's why you have Ryu with his Denjin mode, and you have Ryu parrying, whereas Chun-Li has her Renkiko mode. Everybody is unique. We wanted to lower the execution hurdle for new players. We wanted to make sure that all the new players who come in playing Street Fighter V are able to access all the cool things about their character, those being V-triggers and V-skills. We didn't want it to be muddled behind, one-frame links and all the hard things that players really can't get access to, or ultras that require heavy commands, things like that. We wanted to make sure that the game was easy to play, yet at the same time extremely hard to master, right? And lastly, we wanted to take what we learned from Ultra Street Fighter 4 and apply it to this game. All the positive things. The positive things being, how the game was balanced. We think that, there's a lot of diversity in Street Fighter 4. You can see it in the top 8. There's a jury who made it into the top 8. That's pretty crazy, right? We're also learning. We also took what we learned just about how the game plays and feels, and applied that to Street Fighter 5. So for the system concept, as I mentioned before, the idea is to bring the characters to life. We want to showcase the characters' personalities and avoid a system that pretty much all characters couldn't benefit from. When you think about it, in Street Fighter 4, with the focus system, with FADC and all that, some characters just really don't benefit from it. Some characters have bad dashes, things like that, and it really makes the characters who can exploit the system that much better by default. Instead, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to introduce something brand new where every character can take advantage of it, and that's the V-trigger system. And with all the V-triggers, as I said, every character is a unique experience, and when we approach a character, we think, all right, what is it that they're lacking, or how can we really spice up this character? How can we make them feel unique, and how can they take advantage of this V-trigger system? That's the approach that we're taking versus, okay, we have a system, focus attacks. Now, how do we make everybody fall into that, and have some core mechanic that they all have to fall into? If that makes sense. All right, so what are we trying to focus on with the gameplay in Street Fighter V? What is our focus? As I said earlier, we want to make the game easy to play, right? We want this game not to be muddled with one-frame links, option selects, FADCing. That's really tough for new players. It's really daunting. I've actually spoken to a few players here, and I asked them, so what do you think about Ultra? Where it's at? How do you feel about it? And some people just absolve themselves to casual land. They say, I love the game, I think it's fun, but I'm not gonna beat the Taquitos of the world. I'm not gonna beat the Daigos. I can't do these 25-hit, one-frame link combos. I'm out the game. I'm just watching. Love EVO, love to be here, love Street Fighter, but I understand it's not for me. And although it is awesome and the game is great, it's great in its own right. Lab monsters love it. Everybody's a specialist loves it. But we're looking for community growth. We want to make sure that more people are able to play Street Fighter, more people are able to access what is Street Fighter and share the love that you guys have for it. So for Street Fighter V, what we looked at is how to make combos a little bit easier. We want people to access damage. We want people to access, as I said, all the cool things in the game. However, there is something to be said about practicing, putting in lab time, and when it comes to that, you still have to input combos or links around a similar timing, but at the same time, it's not about one-frame links. So you have more than 1/60th of a second to land your combos. That's really important to us. We want to make sure that, if you actually practice, you see the rewards of your practice, and we want to make sure that the game is very straightforward. A lot of people are confused when they first see Street Fighter 4, when people are attacking and attacks are being absorbed with focuses or backdashes and attacks suddenly whiff. None of it seems intuitive. We wanted to make sure that this game is very straightforward. If you commit to something, like if you do an uppercut and that's the wrong read, then you should get punished accordingly. Everything in this game is... That's right! So we want to make sure that this game is extremely deliberate. Everything you do with conviction. And ultimately, what we believe that'll do is it'll take Street Fighter V back to the heart of Street Fighter, which is playing the opponent and reading the situation, and not so much being muddled down in the mechanics of the game and learning how to abuse the system to beat your opponent, but more rather how to read that guy and beat him handedly. So in regards to the design pillar, we took characters' personalities into account, and we wanted to really have that shine. We also looked at characters closely. Every character that we're bringing back, we looked at how they played in the old games and saw if they had the right tools, if they were lacking. Case in point, like Birdie, we thought he was a little lacking. We gave him new tools to help him fight from further out. Before, if he was further out, he was kind of a goner. So we kind of redesigned the character to make him feel fresh, make him feel new, and give him the tools to help him fight. In regards to characters who are amusing, like such as Ken, we think that Ken's already in a good place in Street Fighter 4. He was pretty awesome. So we just made him more amusing. We redesigned him to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more in your face. We gave him different tools to make him more fun. And with the variable system, it really brings the characters to life. Every V trigger speaks to the character. You have Ryu activating his V trigger. He activates Denjin mode. I mean, if you played Street Fighter 3, you saw he had a Denjin Hadoken. You have Chun-Li, she channels her ki, able to do extra damage. You have Birdie, he eats the pepper. I mean, the guy's always eating, he gets stronger, hits harder. I mean, every V trigger and everything, it goes into the game and it really, goes into the character and really defines them. And I mean, it's the variable system that we think will bring the characters to life in Street Fighter 5. I mean, take Ryu and Ken, for example. Traditionally, they've always been the same, right? Clones, Shoto clones. That's what you got. That's what most people think when they see Ryu and Ken. And although they may have started off like that a long time ago, if you look at Ken and Ryu in Street Fighter 5, they're vastly different. Ryu has the parry, he has the V trigger Denjin mode, whereas Ken is always running, he's in your face, and he channels his own flame. So the characters, although they may have similar moves such as the Hadoken and the Shoryuken, they're actually vastly different thanks to the V trigger and V skill system. So our approach is, as I mentioned before, we're trying to rethink the returning characters. We looked at them to see if they had the tools. Birdie, a lot of people may have thought he was a grappler previously in the Alpha series, but he really wasn't. He had to hold back, he had to charge his attacks, and that actually forced him to always stay away. And a grappler who's not near you isn't a grappler, right? So we rethought the character and we said, why don't we just make him a motion character so he can access damage at all times? Why don't we make it so that he has long range attacks so that he's more of a footsie character, and that fits more on what we think Birdie is. So if you play him right now, he's definitely a character that can fight you from pretty much all the ranges, and he's not really a grappler, much like he wasn't a grappler in the Alpha series. With Bison, you can see his concept art right there, pretty hot. But with Bison, we were looking at him and we thought, this should be the ultimate Bison, the most psycho Bison of them all. So, in terms of how he functions normally, you couldn't really change that, because then he'd just be a completely different character. Bison has the staple attacks such as the head stomp and the scissor kicks, but what we saw there was an opportunity in his V-trigger mode to just make him that much more twisted, that much more awesome. And if you play him currently in the Street Fighter 5 build, you'll see that when you activate his V-trigger, all of his specials change. He's just much more aggressive, he's much more in your face, he's much more psycho.
What's better than a head stomp is OTG head stomp. I mean, that's...
All right, so, a lot of people wonder, what did we learn from Ultra Street Fighter 4 and how did we apply it to Street Fighter 5? We learned a lot from there. What we learned is how to properly balance characters. All right, and by that, we see that currently in tournaments, there's large diversity. I'm seeing T-Hawk in top 8s, I'm seeing Jury in top 8s, I'm seeing characters I never saw. I'm seeing Yang win big premier tournaments. You never seen things like that before. So that tells us that we've done a pretty good job in terms of the balance. And the approach there is to not really nerf characters who are really good, but more rather buff the characters who are weak. So that way, it's always about people who may not have had the tools to win suddenly getting it so that they can play their character and always play the way they want. That's really important to us. We also think that community feedback is really important. During the Ultra process, we reached out to all of you guys, for your feedback. We received a lot. Some of it awesome, some of it totally not. And we realized that having an open and direct line of communication with you guys is definitely the way to go. It helps our game grow. It helps the community grow. And we definitely want to keep that open. It's just that my note to you guys, right? Really quickly, this is just a combo feed aside. But with the beta coming out, you guys are gonna have your chance at Street Fighter 5, and I know some people, the game hasn't even been in their hands, and they're just itching to give me feedback about everything. And that's all fine, but please, you have to understand the game before you can get feedback. That's just my personal thing. Please actually explore the game. And I love feedback, and I think that's gonna help us out a lot. It's just that some people, they can't get around the fireball, and they say, oh, well, you know, the fireball's too strong, you need to nerf Ryu. And it's like, no, you should learn how to jump, you know, or something like that, right? So yeah, but community feedback, as I said, is extremely important, and we're definitely going to keep the communication lines open. All right, guys, so once again, thank you. And you know, with Street Fighter 4, we realized it's really all about you guys. It's you guys that bring the characters to life. It's you guys who play online. It's you guys who put in the work and discover all the cool stuff that we may or may not need to patch. And you know, it's basically thanks to you guys that we exist. So thank you guys. Give yourself a round of applause. If you play the Street Fighter 5 build there, you'll see that there are 7 characters. You know, and we wanted to give you a little peek under the hood as to what motivated us, like what was the design direction for these first 7 characters. So let's go ahead and do that. So, as you know, Ryu is the poster child for Street Fighter. He is the character that everybody knows, everybody loves. So we decided to use him as the standard. And we have this chart here where we look at speed versus power. So if they're strong, they're generally slow. If they're fast, they don't hit as hard. You know, we look at character depth. If they're simple, you know, then that generally means that they're not really combo intensive. They're actually a little lighter on that. Whereas technical means that there's a ton of stuff for you to learn for the character. So we kind of have this grid here using Ryu in the middle, and we kind of put the other characters around him, and that helps us decide also things like startup frame data on certain attacks, the throw ranges, you know, movement speed, jump frames, dash values, etc. It's all based off of Ryu. You know, and another thing that we also base off of Ryu is how effective, what is the gain that you get from using a V trigger or a V skill, or what the value is, how many bars does it take. All of that is kind of based off of him. We used him as a starting point, and we, you know, balance the characters based off of that. So for Ryu, as I said, he's the standard. He's the character that anyone can pick up and play. Very easy to use, hard to master. We think that, you know, if you're ever trying to learn Street Fighter, if you're trying to learn Street Fighter 5 and you want to know what it's really about, Ryu is the character you should pick up first. He'll really teach you about the game, and then you can explore the rest of the roster from there. I think that makes the most sense. You know, the depth from using the character comes from using his V skill properly and also his V trigger. So yeah, definitely check him out. For Chun-Li, we think that she's pretty easy to moderately hard to use. I mean, and the only reason that she's moderately hard to use is because she has so many different kicks, so many different manual attacks, and it's really up to you to decide how to use them. You know, historically, she's had a deficiency in damage. Right now, with her V trigger, she makes up for that, so she's definitely a threat. You know, for M. Bison, I think he's a little bit harder to use, and that's because he's a charge-based character. You know, he's the character for people who are trying to explore Street Fighter a little bit more. They want to get a little bit more in depth. You know, he's pretty solid normally, but with his V trigger, he comes from all kinds of different angles. There's a lot of depth there. The character is like 2 different characters. Pretty awesome. Birdie, you know, he's really good for beginners. He's not very technical. There's not very many hard combos for him. We wanted him to just be fun. We wanted people to just throw cans, throw chains, eat donuts, just have a ball, you know, enjoy the game. But when you really explore the character, because his attacks hit from so many ranges and he has a wide array of special moves, he's actually pretty deep. So yeah, I think he's pretty strong and close. I think he might be one of the stronger characters on the build, but you know, it's up for you. That's for you guys to decide. I think Nash is actually really hard to use, and that's only because he has so many target combos. You know, he's been redesigned to be extremely offensive. And if you're an offensive type player, you know it's pretty hard to be offensive unless you understand really what the opponent's going to do. But you know, he has a ton of depth. He's very fun to play. It just takes a little bit more work. Cammy, she's pretty easy to use. She's very footsie heavy, has some setups. When she activates her V trigger, she's pretty nasty. So you know, give her a spin. We were trying to make her just really entertaining and to appease these really offensive players. We wanted her to just be in your face, really exciting, really fun, keep your mind active. And you know, Ken right now has been redesigned to also be pretty offensive. If you play him, you'll notice that you can just run in and do what you like, and it really sets the tone for, you know, how Ryu is versus how Ken is. You know, Ken's a lot more stylish, a lot more, you know, in your face, whereas Ryu is more methodical. If you like really taking the pace down and really outpacing the opponents, he's definitely the character you should try. So we have some bonus information here. I mean, this is more really on the design side when we were first coming up with things, when the design director in Japan was really thinking, what is the approach, what will critical arts look like, things like that. So we have some sketches here, just bonus fun stuff. When we were thinking of Birdie, we were thinking, how is this critical art gonna look? And the idea was to have something that matches the personality of the character. So since Birdie's just really fun and goofy, the idea was when he does the skip to my chain critical art, he would actually trip over the opponent and fall on them and crush them. we tried to implement it. It's just that right now we decided to skip that part and instead have him plant them into the ground. So if you finish off the opponent with the critical art, you'll see that you plant them. It's pretty awesome. Same thing for Nash. We wanted him to feel like an assassin since he's been redesigned, and the idea behind his critical art, which you can see in the build currently, is that he sneaks behind them and the opponent is totally helpless as he emerges from the shadows and finishes them off. So we've actually realized that critical art, which is pretty awesome. And the idea here is to make something impactful and then think about the application later. So we come up with these concepts, we say, how can we apply it? Is this going to be awesome? Is it going to look good? And if it doesn't, we adjust it accordingly. Things like that. Also in regards to the character design, here's some sketches for the characters that, some designs that didn't quite make it. Here's how Ryu looked, some of the other designs prior to the one that we placed in the build. Same thing for Ken. He has the flaming hand. We thought that was important. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite have that look. But yeah, we wanted the look to actually match how they would play. And some character designs have changed greatly, while others haven't. I mean, you can see Nash there. This was, like I said, assassin, right? So we were looking at that. Same thing for Chun-Li. We really wanted their design to match their character and also, to match how it is in the story. But unfortunately, we'll have more information on the story later, so we don't have any information on that right now.
We went through a lot of designs. This concept artist is amazing. He's on our Japan R&D team, a guy named Kiki, goes by the name of Kiki. Anyway, he came up with, just as you can see, tons of amazing ideas. Ultimately, these are the ones that didn't make it into the game, but at the end of the day, it was more about, obviously the story, which we'll be able to share more with you guys later, but does it fit the character personality? And as you can see, some of these Nash ones, not quite, they're cool, but they don't quite go with what we were looking for. So it's really amazing, and I mean, look forward to much more detail on the whole backstory and everything as we move forward.
Yeah. So now I know you guys are excited about the next character. All right. So I'm extremely sorry to tell you, but you're gonna have to wait until the finals for Street Fighter to see that. All right.
Well, so that does conclude our panel, but we will open things up for a Q&A. I don't know if we have a roaming mic around, so maybe I don't want to have people rush around, so just raise your hands if you want to ask a question. Speak up. Come on up.
I can do it like this. All right, so I saw with your new... Okay. I'll just ask you guys. I saw with your new model that you have the characters and then you can apply balance in different. Speak up. What you wish for, man. All right, I saw that you guys have a different kind of model for how you're delivering characters and balance updates to us. I wanted to know what would be like your ideal timeline for how you're going to patch things and how you're going to update the game, because as part of the competitive community, I know I'm not going to name, some games that will remain nameless gets patched like every 2 weeks, and we want to make sure that we get a chance to play the game before you go changing stuff. So
exactly, we share the same sentiment, and as I said, feedback is important and things like that, but players need time to explore the game, and the meta constantly changes. Something that might be overpowered in the beginning may not be overpowered, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, once people figure out a counter. So we'll be monitoring the community closely, but don't expect patches unless there's something extremely urgent that needs to be fixed. Yeah, don't expect patches ever so often.
Yeah, I would say we're very sensitive to that too, without naming names of, but it's basically like, if you're putting in the time, you're learning the characters and stuff, if the game changes up every week or every couple of weeks, then it's like you're back to square one, and it's frustrating, so we're trying to be sensitive to that.
We're also going to be paying attention to the Capcom Pro Tour and making sure that if there are any adjustments, that there's enough time between the key milestones to make sure that players have enough time to practice as well. All right.
All right. My question is, since we know about like character packs with different costumes and different looks, do we have something to look forward to in 5? As far as like the animal costumes were dope. That got me. So I really dug that. So I would definitely like to see something along the lines in 5 with that. Is there anything going on?
So we will definitely be doing cosmetic DLC. Anything that affects the actual gameplay or could affect the outcome of a match, our rule for the game is that has to be earnable. But we will also have cosmetic DLC that will be both for paid and will also be earnable as well.
Oh! Tell them to start the line going across the board, right there. Yeah. So you guys have more lines. Move the line up. Hey guys, start the line right there at the end of that table.
So you guys talked about how you want more commitment in Street Fighter V, and I'm kind of curious where hit confirming comes into that, what your thoughts are on that. I've only played the build a little bit. It seems like there's a little bit less emphasis on like light attacks confirming for some of the characters, and I don't know if that's just the characters that are in now, or if that's what your thoughts are on hit confirming in 4 versus 5.
Yeah, so with Street Fighter 4, that's kind of like one of its defining features, unfortunately. For us, our thought process is in 5, basically light buttons are just to relieve pressure. It's not so much confirm that into links and into a win or something. We prefer that players use harder buttons, that they actually, or if they use the light buttons, they might go into specials, but not into anything hugely damaging. Yeah, we don't want it to be pretty much like Street Fighter 4. That was Street Fighter 4's thing, and we're trying to make Street Fighter 5 its own thing.
Yeah, we really want to make it feel different. I think you'll notice, like with Ryu, his combos don't start off crouching jab, right? It's either standing jab and then also crouch tech is out, right? That was one of the first things we took out when we were looking.
Same thing with option selects. We're trying to minimize their occurrence. I mean, you can't eliminate them completely due to invincibility on EXs and critical arts and things like that, but the number of instances in which you have to learn them is almost non-existent, and you could probably, you will be able to win a Street Fighter 5 without learning that kind of stuff. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
With the increasing importance of the Capcom Pro Tour, are we going to see maybe on the main menu of Street Fighter 5 like a Capcom Pro Tour link or like a main menu option? And would it get to the point where someone could qualify for the Capcom Pro Tour straight up just playing Street Fighter 5 on their PS4 or PC?
So for the first question, that is part of the plan. We do plan on integrating Capcom Pro Tour into the game. For the second one, we are going to be revealing details on how we handle future seasons of the Capcom Pro Tour at a later date. So we'll get into that topic at that time. Thank you.
So what is your process going to be with character balancing through Street Fighter 5? I know that Ultra is definitely the most balanced version, but there's still characters that you can tell there's just they're having a difficult time in the tournament scene. There are a lot of new characters that you see, and there's some that just kind of like either disappear or kind of get knocked out very early on in pools that have difficulty being character specialists with just that.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, the approach. Well, right now, luckily, we're starting from scratch. With Ultra, we inherited a legacy roster, right? But with Street Fighter 5, we're starting from scratch. We're checking out the characters, making sure that at the bare minimum, they benefit from the tools given to them. So, their V trigger has to be effective, their V skill has to be effective, they have to have proper buttons, things like that. We're making sure that the character is fully functional, and then that's where we think the community comes in, because as I said, they're the ones that go through the day-to-day. So my opinion of characters, I might think some characters are really good when I might be seeing them in a different way than you guys are, or us internally at Capcom. So the idea here is that in our minds, we want to give the characters the tool sets to properly function within Street Fighter V, and then we watch the results and we see what the community has to say on future balancing, and we see how to properly balance it.
Actually, regarding the fact that you see characters a certain way, would you guys be interested in like posting videos of how you guys think the characters should be? This way the community can take into account maybe there's other playstyles for those characters.
I mean, I would do that after the character has come out for a while, because I mean, if I sit there and say I think the character should be played like X, then people might take it as gospel and say, okay, you can only play the character like X. I prefer, people to figure out a way to play the character, their own style, and then if for some odd reason they say this character's terrible, I can't do anything with this character, then that's when I feel like it would make more sense for me to come through and explain what tools may not be used by that character that should be looked at, things like that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hello. With the inclusion of the fight money thing, I was wondering, would it be possible to wager fight money on in-game matches?
I think I've heard of this before.
Yeah, that is a good idea, but we'll get into details more about our online systems at a later date.
So with the inclusion of netcode and everything, especially for Street Fighter V, I was wondering, are you guys going to try to implement kind of like Capcom Pro Tour within online, especially in different regions, trying to add and get more of more people to come out here? Because I know not a lot of people can come out here at EVO or wherever, and probably try to implement like something like the Capcom Pro Tour and Cubs online and try to do more tournaments there.
We completely agree. Online is going to be an increasing focus for us, and a lot of what we want to do with Street Fighter V is legitimize online play. So there will be opportunities for the competitive scene at a later date, but we'll be getting into more details at that time.
Hello. I have a request. It's going to be open and direct. This is the worst I've ever seen Ken look. Fix his face. And is there any possible way that you guys are not finished with the current visual cosmetic design so you can correct his looks?
Oh man, it's never finished. I remember when we first showed screens of the game and everyone was like, this looks like, it looks horrible, and we came out and we said we're 20% there, and then next week everyone was surprised with how much progress. I'm just excited to let you guys know that it's going to get better and better and better, so definitely stay excited. The game looks great now, I think, but it's going to look even better in the future.
Another question in regards to the fight money. The logical way is certainly in story mode, you expect that versus mode online play. But for the people who like to spend a lot of time in the lab building setups, finding new tech, that sort of thing, do you have plans on rewarding people for their time with currency in the game?
I think we're still figuring out exactly what elements of the game are going to earn fight money and what are not. So we'll get into more details of specifically how it works at a later date. We just wanted to let people know that it was going to be managed as a service that grows over time, and it's going to be more player friendly. But we still have to work out those details too. That's part of why we're doing the betas. So more details to come.
As a design idea, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, we want to reward people for playing modes and also being social playing. But maybe if it was something, if you sit in training mode by yourself, we don't want people to get a lot of money that way, right? But maybe if it was something with online training mode or whatever, where you could do challenges with your friends, earn something. That's kind of a cool idea. So, yeah, thanks for that.
Hey, Kimo Sabi from Florida. I think you guys are great. What you're doing here is amazing. My question is in regards to accessibility. Growing the community, awesome, love it. I want to know, in terms of the design of the game, how do you guys feel like you're going to keep the game accessible 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line? What do you guys feel? How do you guys juggle that accessibility and keeping a high ceiling in terms of your design of the game?
Great question.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's actually the V triggers and V skills that really speak to that. as I said, accessibility to us means that everyone can access the cooler aspects of their character, right? Those being V triggers and V skills. As long as somebody can walk in and play with that, then at the end of the day, it's accessible. You know, at the end of the day, if they want to take it to the next level, however, they will have to learn Street Fighter. And, you know, as long as there are people playing, then the skill ceiling will always go up because, you know, Street Fighter is only as difficult as the person you're playing. Right.
One last comment. In God's name, can you please give Ryu his Judan kickback? Like, please. I don't understand why you guys just took that move away from him.
Okay. Duly noted.
In other words, no. Hi. I know in the earlier builds, you guys had a lot of drastic changes. Like, for example, Chun-Li's V trigger had double kick and spinning air kick thing. For the characters in the build right now, like Ryu, Chun, Cammy, are there also going to be any like major move changes down the line, like from the old build, or is it just going to be a numbers game and tweaking damage and frame data?
I mean, there definitely can be. I mean, the game is, you know, far from its release date, which is spring of next year. Well, not too far, but, you know, there's a lot of time between now and then for us to iterate on the characters. And, you know, until you get the final character in your hand, that's the version that you should care about, right? All these versions that we show off, you know, the Chun-Li that was at Capcom Cup versus the Chun-Li now, you know, the Cammy right now might be different from the Cammy in beta, you know, it can always change. And what we're looking at is just to make sure that the moves properly fit the character and they all have a purpose. That's what's most important to us right now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Han from California. So in terms of backstory, Ken and Rai has a really strong rivalry, and Chung and Cammy as well. How do you guys feel about Guile and Nash in terms of bringing Guile back into the roster?
We'll be talking more about story-related content at a later date. I'll leave it at that.
Hello, I'm David. Obviously, at this crowd, you're going to have veterans, people that love this series. One thing I focus on being a newer player and bringing up players even newer than myself, you said one of your goals is to grow the family of players.
Yes.
Well, with fighting games, from what I see, of course, when you hop online, you're going to meet folks like the good people in the audience, and that in itself can be daunting and discouraging. Yes. But a lot of people would like to train offline and learn something. Typical to, let's say, fighting games, you're going to get a CPU that's either very, very dumb or very, very smart and even does things that are impossible by human standards. And your training mode might be, well, here's a combo you can learn, which is a useful thing. Building on all the successes in Street Fighter, some other companies have added features over time. What do you look to do for people looking to learn in that situation?
That's really good. That's actually really good.
One thing I will say is that the features of the training mode this time will be more than we've ever put into a Street Fighter game. So we will have more details on that. We can't talk about it right now, but we have given that a lot of thought. Not only that, but you know, it is a unique problem, especially to fighting games. How to get that new generation interested in the game. Obviously, you don't want people coming in and just getting, you know, all they can do is go online, get bodied, and then, you know, that kind of ruins the experience. So can't talk about much right now, but that is definitely something that we've given a lot of thought to for this product. So we'll have some future announcements that hopefully will get you guys excited.
Happy New Year. All right, we've got 5 more minutes. Just heads up.
Hey guys, as an older player who grew up with these games like you guys, I still remember the days when we had casts of like only 10 characters, right? Now that we're going to have 16 characters and more and more and more, are you guys considering features where you might like hop online and be like, I only want to fight Zangief? You know, I only want to fight Zangief in my region right now, and it'll prioritize matches based on players who are looking for certain matchups or to learn certain matchups, and I'm not sure. you know, how you would balance the growing cast.
I think that's an interesting idea. We actually hadn't discussed something like that, but we are always taking feedback, and this is a game that's going to live for a long time, so we do plan on building on it over time. So always happy to hear your guys' suggestions.
That's awesome. That's actually really awesome. Thanks.
Here comes the guys.
Thanks, guys. Well, you guys are awesome.
My name is DJ from Florida, and I'm one of the 09ers, I guess you could say. And I'm somebody who came in playing Street Fighter 4 and you know, getting better up until now. But and I do like the design philosophy that you guys are changing to with 5, where you have one definitive version. But my question is, vanilla Street Fighter 4 is a lot different than Ultra, balance-wise, and even just fundamental mechanics-wise. Like you guys added delayed wake-up, multiple Ultras, right focus. Do you think that with Street Fighter 5 that you'll add any fundamental changes to the game under the same umbrella of Street Fighter 5? Like would you add V-triggers, different critical arts, stuff like that? Would you make any big core design changes within Street Fighter 5 since it's the same game?
I don't think we'll, in regards, I think what you're thinking of is adding new mechanics, right? Like when you speak of delayed wake up and red focus and stuff like that, yeah, it makes the game vastly different from Street Fighter 4. We're not really thinking about changing the game up like that right now because we're more concerned about just getting an awesome game out in the beginning, right? So, I mean, if we see that, you know, way down the road, you know, for some odd reason there's a ceiling there, then that would make sense to pursue that. But at this moment in time, we're not even looking at that. Right now, we're just making sure that all the V triggers, all the V skills, and all the characters work together and make sense. And that at the end of the day, when you utilize these systems, it's a pretty deep game.
Yeah. This has got to be the last one. We got 2 minutes remaining. Sorry, guys.
Hey, I'm Rizal from New York, and I was wondering, since you're going to be releasing new characters, I know you didn't say much about the story yet, but if there are going to be story elements added to tie in the new characters as they come out.
I mean, there will be story-related content in Street Fighter V. We'll be talking specifically as to how we approach it at a later date, but we definitely have a focus on both single-player and multiplayer content. All right, and that wraps up our panel this year. Thank you all for coming out. Enjoy the finals tomorrow, and we'll definitely see you next year. And thank you guys so much for your support. We love you.